passed away, rahimahullah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant him Jannatul Firdaus. Allahumma ighfir lahum warhamhum wasakkinhum fil Jannah. Allahumma ja'al qabrahu rawdatan min riyadil Jannah. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for providing us the opportunity to begin our days, this day of Jum'ah with the Masjid. The day of Jum'ah is a very blessed day, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He orders the believers to be active in those things which will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the ibadah of this day of Jum'ah is excessive recitation of salutations upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the more we recite salutations upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will descend blessings upon us. As we were discussing regarding the component in which a person should avoid having any type of haya, number one is in seeking knowledge. And in seeking knowledge, there is two factors. Number one, the questions that you want to ask. And number two, the age that you want to learn. So for learning, there is no age. As Ali bin Abi Talib says, radiyallahu an, utlubul ilm min al-mahdi ila al-lahd, that you seek knowledge from your cradle to your deathbed until you leave from this world, until your grave. So the knowledge should be earned at any time. A person should never shy away from asking from those people who know just because you do not know. And in the same time, you would see in the teachings of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim ajma'een would come and ask certain questions, and they would not want to ask this question, but they somehow made their way to ask this question. Why? Because it was a need in religion. For example, Sulaym radiyallahu anha, she came, Salama says radiyallahu anha that I was with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and Sulaym came radiyallahu anha, and she said, Ya Rasulullah, I do not want to shy away from anything. Wallahu la yastahi min al-haq, and Allah also does not shy away from the absolute truth. And then she asked the question that if a woman has a wet dream, what is requirement? Because there are certain questions that a person needs to ask, and if a person shies away from it, then the harm only comes his way, and no one else is going to take that harm. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentions a story in the Quran in Surah Al-Ahzab, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was married, when he got married to Zainab bint Jahash radiyallahu anha. After that, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam hosted some people at his house for an invitation for a walima. And groups used to come and eat and go away. There were a specific group that after they ate, they start having discussions of their own. And they had continued their discussion, and they're talking and they're talking and they're talking. Now Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he got up a few times, he exited his house, came back in, trying to give him a hint that, it's time to go now. But he did not tell them directly that you should leave, because he thought this would be inappropriate for a guest who has come. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed a verse to relieve the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family member, and to teach a lesson to every believer until the day of judgment. And what is فَإِذَا, Allah Azza wa Jal says, فَإِذَا طَعِمْتُمْ فَانْتَشِرُوا, that after you have had your meal, move away. وَلَا مُسْتَأْنِسِينَ لِحَدِيثٍ, and do not sit down and start having conversation. Why? Because this action, it gives difficulty to the host. And he shies away from telling you, Wallahu la yastahi min al-haq. Allah does not shy away from telling you the truth. So when a person, he is wanting to ask something, then either he should go and himself ask or find someone. Like Ali bin Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu mentions that I had a situation which made me shy to go in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to ask him why, because it had to do with it was related to somehow my relationship with his daughter Fatima radiyallahu anha. And since Fatima radiyallahu anha was under my wedlock, I did not find myself to be going and asking this question to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, the situation existed. So what did I do? I got my friend Miqdad. I told Miqdad radiyallahu an that go and ask this question to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and let me know the answer. Abu Dawood mentions كنت رجلا مذاء فسألت مقدادا أن يسأل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that I was a person who had this complication in foreplay. The liquid used to come out, and due to having the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's daughter in my wedlock, it kind of pushed me away to go and ask this question. But I never shied away from learning ilm. So I prepared my friend Miqdad to go and ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is one thing that we need. A lot of times the person says, oh, this is a very small question. If I ask, someone would say, oh, how come you don't know this? You are such an old practicing Muslim and you should have learned this. There is no shying away from asking question if a person doesn't know. إنما شفاء العي السؤال. The cure for a diseased person is to go and ask. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened and facilitated for the Sahaba to come and ask to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, in asking, a person needs to be intelligent. A person needs to be intelligent. He only needs to ask what is required. Hypothetical questions. What if this happened and what if that happened? There is no what ifs. If something happens, go and ask. Do not make up hypothetical questions just to increase the conversation or to put someone in difficulty when you ask them. The second thing is when a person sees something which is inappropriate and wrong, then at this time, this person should not shy away from expressing that. He should not shy away from expressing. This is wrong and this should not be done. Or a right has been violated of someone. It is a duty of every believer. من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه وإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. تغيير is wajib. Either it's with yad, lisan or qalb. You have to make sure that you do something when you see something wrong being done, to make sure that it doesn't become acceptable in your heart. Because if it becomes acceptable, unfortunately, tomorrow you will end up doing it. When a person loses the value of a sin, he loses how deadly a sin can be in his or her life, then eventually that sin gets committed. And this is why Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam mandate that if you see something that is wrong, then whatever capacity Allah has given you, either with your tongue, with your hand, or to think that action to be evil in your heart, this is mandatory upon every believer. And a person should never shy away from this, because these are the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put upon us. And as a believer, it is our responsibility to fulfill these rights. We ask Allah to grant us the true understanding and the ability to practice. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.